Estoy convencido de que los países de los BRICS juntos con los
I'm
socios
convinced that BRICS countries
liderando
with
en el
partners will
avance
continue to lead in the advance in the principles of a multipolar world.
multipolaridad no es una elección sino una realidad objetiva. Significa reemplazar el modelo obsoleto neoliberal.
It means to replace the obsolete neoliberal
Los
model.
primeros
The first
signos de fallo de este
signs
modelo fueron
of
las
this model failing
económicas de recientes décadas.
were the economic crisis of recent
COVID también
decades.
expuso
The COVID-19 pandemic also exposed different deficiencies of the financial system and accelerated its destruction.
esto se ve exacerbado por
This is observed
sanciones unilaterales y el uso
by
del
the
dólar
use
como
of
arma.
sanctions and the use of dollar as a
La
weapons to
confianza
punish.
en la
Trust
moneda estadounidense
in the
como
US
medio de
currency
pago ha
as
sido
a
visto
means of payment
socavado. Otro factor negativo es el
have
aumento de la carga de la deuda.
undermined
Hoy
other
los países
factors in the
desarrollados gastan
increase
más
of the
en
debt.
pagar su
Today,
deuda que en su propio desarrollo.
developing
La
countries pay
situación
more
se
in
puede
paying their
control
debt than
incluso
in
en países
developing their nation.
subdesarrollo.
So the situation is
La
getting out of
mayoría
control for
global
developing countries.
interesada en crear
The
mecanismos
global majority is interested in creating a mechanism for the independent development from the West. BRICS,
esta nueva transformación
through this transformation based on the principles of universality, transparency, and non-discrimination,
garantizando acceso
guarantees
igualitario a las
equal access
oportunidades
to opportunities
establecidas.
established.
Es inaceptable continuando el FMI y el Banco Mundial para mantener prácticas
IMF and the World
neocoloniales.
Bank to maintain neo-colonial practices. Similar situations are unfolding in the World Trade Organization, where the dispute resolution process has been blocked for many years. Last year, an informal BRICS consultation mechanism on WTO issues was launched. We expect the joint positions to be agreed upon soon and for their practical implementation to begin. Development financing problems are becoming increasingly acute. According to UN estimates, the shortfall amounts to $4.2 trillion per year. Lacking sufficient resources and the ability to obtain loans on acceptable terms, countries of the Global South are forced to rely on official development assistance. However, due to the well-known double standards of the West, this assistance is increasingly being conditioned by political considerations. For example, in 2023, the International Monetary Fund approved an unprecedented loan to Ukraine of $15.5 billion, which amounts to 577% of Ukraine's country quota. This is more than a third of the fund's total annual program volume, and through the World Bank, since the beginning of 2022, it has been announced that nearly $54 billion will be allocated to Ukraine. Taken together, these amounts allocated to Ukraine are twice the annual funding provided by the Bretton Woods institutions to all African countries. To mobilize resources for development purposes, Russia has put forward an initiative to create a new investment platform within BRICS involving the new development bank. The implementation of this initiative is intended to be supported by our joint efforts to transform the NDB into an innovative development institution that focuses on the needs of its shareholders and is not subject to external market influences. We highly appreciate the efforts of NDB President Dilma Rousseff in this direction. Artificial intelligence is becoming a critically important technology. In response to attempts to impose non-consensual approaches in this field through various closed formats, BRICS has issued a statement on global governance in the sphere of artificial intelligence, emphasizing the central role of the UN. The challenges associated with the development of digital technologies are transboundary in nature and require collective responses. A good example is the agreement reached at the end of last year at the UN on the Convention on Combating Cybercrime, which will be open for signature this October in Hanoi. I am convinced that the BRICS countries, together with like-minded partners, will continue to lead in advancing the principles of a just, multipolar world order. Multipolarity is not a choice, but an objective reality. It is replacing the outdated neoliberal model, which was essentially built on neo-colonial practices. The first signs of failure in this model were the economic crisis of recent decades. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed numerous shortcomings in the global trade and financial system and accelerated its fragmentation. The erosion of globalization structures has been exacerbated by illegal unilateral sanctions and the use of the dollar as a weapon for punishment. Trust in the American currency as a once reliable means of payment has been undermined. Another negative factor is the rapid increase in the debt burden. Today, developing countries spend more on servicing their debt than they invest in their own development. The situation is getting out of control even in developed countries. The global majority is interested in creating development mechanisms independent of the West. BRICS is the driving force behind this transformation, striving to build a more stable global economic architecture based on the principles of universality, transparency, and non-discrimination, ensuring equal access to available opportunities and tools. As already noted,